There is a silence that wraps itself around the great ones, not the peace of quiet, but the ache of carrying fire in a world soaked in water. There is something haunting and holy about those who are chosen, those born not merely to live, but to shape the world by surviving it. Their footsteps are not just heard, they are felt. When the chosen enter a room, something shifts in the air, like a storm about to break. But long before the world recognizes them, they carry the burden of their calling in silence. Before the applause, before the recognition, before the understanding, there is the weight. And that weight is invisible to everyone else. You see, when someone is chosen, they are not given a crown. They are handed a responsibility, a demand from life itself to see more, feel more, endure more. It is not glamorous. It is not easy. It is not clean. Being chosen means that you have been entrusted with a fire so wild it can either light the world or burn you alive. And most days, it feels like both. From the moment you begin to sense there's something different about you, something restless, something that won't let you settle, life begins its shaping. The chosen don't get to walk through gentle seasons. They are forged in fire. Challenges arrive early, loss comes too soon. Loneliness walks beside them like a shadow that never fades. Even as children, the chosen ones often feel like outsiders in their own homes. They ask questions others are afraid to ask. They speak truths others avoid. They hear silence louder than noise and find meaning in places others overlook. And for this, they are called too sensitive, too intense, too much. But they are not too much. They are exact. They are precise instruments in a world that prefers dull edges. The weight of calling presses hardest when no one believes in it but you. You wake up with a vision in your heart that no one else can see. You carry ideas, dreams, truths, and messages that feel ancient, urgent, and necessary. But when you share them, people look away. When you shine, they shield their eyes. When you cry out, they call it dramatic. When you withdraw, they say you're distant. They do not see the battle you are fighting just to keep going. They do not see how heavy that invisible burden has become, because the calling demands sacrifice. Time, comfort, certainty, all must be surrendered. The chosen don't get to play it safe. They don't get to blend in. They don't get to follow the crowd. Their life isn't a line, it's a flame. It's a series of leaps across impossible distances. It's trust without proof. It's faith without applause. And that is where the true cost lies, not in the labor, but in the isolation. Chosen ones often find themselves in rooms filled with people, but still feel profoundly alone, because when you are chosen, you carry something rare, and rarity, by definition, is lonely. The world does not immediately welcome what it does not understand. It will not cradle your calling gently. It will test it. It will mock it. It will try to shape it into something more palatable, more marketable, more common. And if you resist, as you must, it will label you difficult, arrogant, strange. Still, you press on, because the weight of calling is not just heavy, it is holy. It teaches you to stand in your truth, even when your knees shake. It teaches you to be still in the wilderness. It teaches you to listen when no one is speaking and to speak when silence is safer. It is in this crucible of solitude that the chosen are prepared. And that's the thing no one tells you. Being chosen isn't a reward. It's a responsibility. It's not a privilege. It's a purpose. And purposes do not pamper you. They stretch you. They demand everything. They break you open until the real you spills out, the one you were always meant to be. You do not carry this weight because you are weak, but because you are strong enough to survive it, strong enough to rise not in spite of it, but because of it, strong enough to become a vessel for something far bigger than yourself. That is what the weight is for, not to crush you, but to carve you. To carry the weight of a calling is to walk a path others cannot see, to hear a voice others ignore, and to follow a light that does not flicker even in your darkest night. And though the journey may be lonely, though the burden may be great, the truth remains. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to be chosen. There is a cost to seeing what others cannot, a sharp, aching cost that lives behind the eyes and settles deep in the bones. Vision is a gift often praised from a distance, but from the inside, it can feel like a curse. Because to have vision is not simply to dream, it is to see ahead, to see through, to see beneath. And more often than not, what you see is not what others are ready to face. The pain of vision is the pain of clarity in a foggy world. It is the torment of knowing the truth when everyone else is comfortable in denial. It's standing on the edge of what could be, shouting toward a crowd that only wants what already is. You see the cracks in perfect things. You hear the silence beneath the laughter. You notice the shadows moving even in bright places. You carry a map in your heart for a place that does not yet exist, and yet you are expected to live fully in the now as if you have not glimpsed something more. Visionaries are often misunderstood because they are inconvenient. They disrupt comfort. They disrupt tradition. They disrupt sleep. When you carry vision, people don't just disagree with you. They resist you. They turn their backs, not because you're wrong, but because you make them uncomfortable. And in that rejection is a specific kind of loneliness, one that isn't just emotional, but spiritual, because vision is lonely. You walk roads no one else dares to travel. You speak languages no one else has learned. You see futures no one else is ready to accept. And the most painful part is not the solitude itself, it's the ache of trying to bring others along, only to watch them stop, turn back, or stay behind. You want them to see what you see. You want them to feel what you feel. But sometimes you are tasked with carrying the vision alone until the world is ready to open its eyes. The pain intensifies when your vision is met with ridicule. You share your ideas, your dreams, your insights, and they are laughed at, dismissed, or picked apart. They call you naive, unrealistic, arrogant. You are told to shrink, to settle, to wait. But how does one unsee what they have seen? How does one forget a future that burns behind their eyelids? The pain of vision isn't just in being unheard. It's in the responsibility that comes with it. Once you know, you know. Once you see, you can't unsee. You can't pretend anymore. You can't be content with silence when truth is pounding in your chest. You can't rest easy while the world keeps sleepwalking through its own destruction. Vision demands action. It demands urgency. It demands you move even when no one walks beside you. It's a heavy thing to be called ahead of your time, to be seen as strange simply because you are awake. You start to question yourself. Am I too intense? Am I imagining things? Is it better to pretend, to quiet down, to look away? And still, the vision persists. It finds you in your dreams. It whispers during conversations. It stares back at you through the eyes of people who are still asleep, urging you not to join them. The truth is, vision can break your heart, not because it's wrong, but because it's right too soon. You watch people hurt each other, unaware of a better way. You see leaders lead toward destruction, not knowing what you know. You feel the ache of potential that never becomes real. That break, that constant friction between what is and what could be, becomes your companion. It sits with you at night. It eats with you in silence. It follows you into every room, every relationship, every dream. Yet even in the pain, there is purpose. Visionaries are not made for comfort. They are made for change. They are not sent to repeat the world. They are sent to remake it. And to remake anything, you must first feel the full weight of what is broken. You must stand in the tension long enough to birth something new. That's what the pain is for, not to destroy you, but to refine you, to sharpen your senses, to deepen your compassion, to keep you awake. You are not alone, though it feels like it. You are not lost, though others say you are. You are simply carrying a fire that was not meant to burn in everyone, but that fire, that vision, that pain, it's the proof that you are still alive in a sleeping world. And when the time is right, when the veil begins to lift, when the fog starts to clear, they will look to you, the one who saw it all from the beginning. There is no wound like the one delivered by a familiar hand, no silence louder than the quiet that falls after trust has been broken by someone who once swore to protect you. The betrayal of strangers is expected. It stings, but it heals. The betrayal of familiar faces, though, cuts deep and stays. It echoes not only in the heart, but in the soul. For those who are chosen, this kind of betrayal isn't rare. It's almost a rite of passage. The ones you love the most are often the first to doubt you. The ones who should have supported your growth become the ones who fear it. People say they want to see you shine, but they rarely imagine what that actually looks like. Because your light doesn't just illuminate your path, it casts shadows over their insecurities, their fears, their choices. You changing forces them to confront how they haven't, and not everyone is ready for that reflection. Sometimes the betrayal is subtle, a laugh when you share your dream, a dismissive shrug when you speak your truth. Sometimes it's more direct, a parent who says you're wasting your time, a partner who belittles your vision, a friend who disappears when you need them most. And it's not always cruelty. Sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's envy, sometimes it's the quiet panic of realizing they can no longer understand you. But understanding isn't a requirement for love. Commitment is. And when those closest to you choose distance over dialogue, silence over solidarity, it wounds in a way that language fails to express. You find yourself walking forward, heart full of purpose, yet surrounded by ghosts of the people you thought would walk with you forever. That grief is its own kind of death, not of them, but of who they were to you. Chosen ones often face this breaking early. Their growth disrupts the rhythm of their surroundings. You were never meant to stay still, but those around you often were. You were born with a hunger that frightened them, with a voice that carried truths too sharp for their comfort. And so they tried to tame you, to soften your fire, to mold you into something familiar, but fire cannot be cradled, and vision cannot be quieted. So the tension grew, and then the distance. Betrayal doesn't always come with betrayal's name. Sometimes it arrives dressed in concern, in unsolicited advice, in guilt-wrapped suggestions to slow down or be realistic. It comes with smiles that don't reach the eyes, with hugs that feel colder than silence. It comes with invitations that stop coming, with support that fades just when you need it most. And you're left wondering, was I ever truly seen, or only tolerated when I stayed small? It's hard, unbearably so, to accept that some people only love the version of you that didn't challenge them, that they needed you to be broken so they could feel whole, that you're healing, you're rising, you're becoming. It feels like abandonment to them, even though you're the one who's been left behind. There is an ache in walking away, not out of pride, but out of protection. You don't leave because you stopped loving them. You leave because they no longer know how to love the real you, and that truth takes time to sit with. You replay conversations, you question every decision, you carry their names in your heart long after they've stopped saying yours. And yet, there is clarity in this kind of heartbreak, because it shows you who is truly meant to walk beside you. Those who betray you are not always evil, they are simply unequipped. Not everyone is built to witness a transformation. Some will see your wings and only remember your crawl. Some will hear your truth and miss the lies that kept them comfortable. You cannot blame them for that, but you also cannot let them tether you to a past you've outgrown. Every chosen one must walk through this valley, must mourn the loss of connection, in order to find true community, must let go of those who were only meant for a season. This is not bitterness, it's alignment, it's grace, it's making room for people who will meet you, not for who you were, but for who you are still becoming. You learn through the tears that love and loyalty are not the same, that blood is not always bond, that history is not always home. You learn to trust the quiet voice inside, the one that says, keep going. And slowly that voice becomes louder than their doubts, stronger than their absence. You begin to heal, not because they returned, but because you chose to remain true to yourself. There is heartbreak in being betrayed by those you once called your own, but there is also freedom, the freedom to grow without permission, the freedom to rise without apology, the freedom to finally see who you are when you stop shrinking for the sake of staying loved. Loneliness is a strange companion. It walks with you in rooms full of people, in moments of success, in the quiet just before sleep. It doesn't always announce itself with pain. Sometimes it arrives as numbness, as silence, as a long sigh that won't release. For the chosen ones, loneliness isn't a temporary state. It's often a passageway, a necessary wilderness between who you were and who you're becoming. The world teaches us to fear being alone. It tells us that value is measured in company, in applause, in validation. It teaches us to avoid silence, to fill every empty space with noise, with people, with anything that keeps us from being alone with ourselves. But what the world does not say is that loneliness, when embraced instead of resisted, becomes a sacred ground. It becomes the place where transformation takes root. For those who carry a purpose that doesn't fit into ordinary spaces, loneliness isn't punishment, it is preparation. It is the space where the noise dies down long enough for truth to be heard. When you are stripped of distractions, of false friends, of shallow connections, you begin to hear your own voice clearly. And that voice, soft, persistent, honest, is the one that has been trying to guide you all along. It is in loneliness that you begin to meet yourself for the first time. You discover what you truly think, what you truly feel, what you truly desire. There are no mirrors to perform for, no crowds to please, just you and the truth. And sometimes that truth hurts. You might grieve, you might rage, you might sit in silence for hours wondering what any of it means. But beneath that ache is fertile ground. Beneath that isolation is sacred soil. The most beautiful things grow in hidden places. Seeds do not bloom in sunlight alone. They begin in the dark, buried and unseen. Loneliness is that soil, rich with the nutrients of unspoken thoughts, unanswered questions, and untold stories. It is where dreams germinate and identities take root. You are not being punished by solitude. You are being planted. Many of the great voices, the ones who changed the world, walked long roads of loneliness, not because they were unlovable, but because they were carrying something rare. And rare things must be protected, even from the hands that mean well. The chosen ones are often set apart so they can cultivate strength that doesn't depend on outside approval. They learn to hold themselves up when no one else is around. They learn resilience not through applause, but through silence. In loneliness, you come face to face with your fears, the ones you've buried under busyness, under relationships, under dreams that weren't really yours. And though it feels like falling apart, it is actually falling into place. Every tear, every question, every restless night is clearing out what no longer serves you, making space for what's real, what's lasting, what's yours. There is clarity in the quiet. You begin to see who you've been performing for, whose expectations you've been living under, what pieces of yourself you've hidden to belong. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You realize that the loneliness isn't just about missing others, it's about finally showing up for yourself. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for your fire. You begin to understand that solitude isn't emptiness, it's space. Space to breathe, space to remember, space to heal. And in that healing, something soft and strong begins to rise within you, a kind of knowing, a kind of self-trust that doesn't require proof or permission. It's a quiet kind of power, the kind that doesn't demand attention but commands it nonetheless. Because when someone has learned to be whole in their own presence, they carry a peace that can't be shaken. They are not lonely because they are unloved. They are lonely because they are being prepared for something sacred, something that can't be built on shaky ground. Loneliness becomes a teacher. It shows you what you need. It reveals what you've been clinging to out of fear. It teaches you to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. And in doing so, it gives you roots, not shallow ones that break when the wind comes, but deep, ancient roots that hold steady through every storm. You begin to realize that the solitude you feared is not a desert, it's a garden that only you can tend, a garden where your soul learns how to breathe again, how to speak again, how to grow beyond what the world expected of you. In that quiet place, you become who you were always meant to be, not because someone chose you, but because you chose yourself. The world may not understand this kind of becoming. It may call it loneliness, but those who have walked through it know better. They know it as the beginning of everything. There comes a time when the pieces fall, when the image you held of yourself, the plans you made, the identity you carefully stitched together unravel like thread in the hands of time. Something inside breaks. Not loud, not dramatic, but deep, quietly, completely. And you're left standing in the ruins of what used to be, unsure of what remains. This is the moment we call brokenness. And while it feels like the end, it often holds the beginning. Brokenness is not simply the absence of strength. It is not failure. It is not weakness. It is a sacred rupture, a divine interruption that shatters what no longer serves you. It forces a reckoning. It says, enough. It brings you to your knees not to punish you, but to position you. Because sometimes the only way life can reach you is to break what is holding you hostage. We live in a world that worships the image of wholeness, picture perfect success, seamless confidence, unshakable stability, but those are often just masks, armor we wear to survive. And underneath that armor, many of us are already cracked, already aching, already stretched too thin. Brokenness is what happens when the truth can no longer stay hidden, when the soul cries louder than the ego, when the illusion crumbles so something real can finally rise. It hurts, yes. It strips you. It leaves you raw, but it also gives you back to yourself. In brokenness, the noise is gone. The distractions are removed. You stop pretending. You stop performing. All that remains is you, bare, bruised, but honest. And it is in that honesty, that brutal truth, where the breakthrough begins. The thing about breaking is that it opens you, not in a gentle way, but in a necessary one. Pain cracks the shell. Grief tears the veil. Disappointment loosens the grip of the life you thought you needed. Suddenly you see things clearly. You see who truly loves you. You see where you've been hiding. You see how far you've strayed from what matters. And once you've seen it, you cannot go back. The breakthrough doesn't arrive as a lightning bolt. It comes slowly. It comes in tears that cleanse instead of drown, in quiet moments where you hear your own voice again, in days where the weight lifts just enough for you to breathe. It comes as the small decision to get up again, even if you have no idea where you're going. It comes in choosing to heal, not because it's easy, but because staying broken is no longer an option. There is a sacredness to breaking that no one teaches us to expect. You find yourself speaking with more honesty, loving with more compassion, listening with more care. You stop needing to be right all the time. You stop needing to be impressive. You stop chasing people who never saw you. You begin to honor yourself, not the polished version, but the fractured one, the one who survived. People think strength is about never breaking, but real strength is found in those who have been shattered and still choose to rebuild, who carry their scars not as shame, but as symbols of resurrection, who don't hide their cracks, but let light pour through them. The breakthrough doesn't erase the brokenness, it transforms it. In fact, what broke you often becomes the very thing that births your power. The heartbreak that deepened your empathy, the loss that awakened your gratitude, the failure that humbled your spirit, the silence that sharpened your voice. You come out of the fire different, refined, not perfect, but present, not invincible, but rooted. And somewhere along the way, you realize that the breaking was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to deliver you from lies, from limits, from illusions. It cleared the ground for a new becoming. It cracked the container so you could finally expand, so you could finally breathe. You are not less because you were broken. You are more. You are deeper, wiser, softer in the places that matter. You know how to sit with pain without turning away. You know how to carry joy with reverence. You know what it means to lose everything and still rise. That is the miracle of it all. The breakthrough lives inside the breakdown. The beauty hides in the ruins. And sometimes the most powerful thing you will ever do is keep living after the fall. Keep trusting after the betrayal. Keep building with hands that still tremble. Keep loving with a heart that still aches, because brokenness is not the end. It is the place where the truth begins. And from that truth, you rise, not as who you were, but as who you were always meant to be. There are moments in life when turning away feels like protection. When the truth burns too bright and the pain cuts too deep, we instinctively close our eyes. We distract ourselves, numb ourselves, fill the silence with noise so we don't have to face what is rising in the shadows. But the truth is this: what you refuse to face will not disappear. It will wait. It will grow. It will whisper in the quiet, bleed through your laughter, and rise when you least expect it. That's why you must not look away. Not from your pain, not from the mirror, not from the grief you've buried beneath busyness, because what you do not confront, you cannot heal, and what you cannot heal, you will carry. Sometimes through generations, sometimes through relationships, sometimes through dreams that wither because they were never planted in truth. Looking away is easy in a world designed for avoidance. There's always another screen, another scroll, another distraction. We are taught to curate, not confront, to filter, not feel. We hide our wounds under polish. We mute our rage with politeness. We turn trauma into quiet stories that never ask to be heard. But healing, true healing, requires presence. It requires the courage to look into the ache without flinching. It requires the decision to sit in the discomfort without running. The reason it's so hard is because truth demands something from us. It doesn't just show us what is. It calls us to remember what could be. It pulls at the corners of our soul and asks, what have you lost? What have you denied? What have you settled for? And those are dangerous questions to a life built on pretending. But they are also sacred questions, the kind that lead to freedom if you are willing to answer them, to look at your life unfiltered, to examine your wounds, your fears, your deepest questions. It is an act of rebellion in a world that profits from your disconnection. It is not weakness, it is warrior work. It is choosing to face the storm instead of hiding from the thunder. It is standing still when everything inside you says run. because you know that what waits on the other side of honesty is peace, not perfection, but peace. And it's not just your own reflection you're asked to face. There is injustice that begs your eyes not to close. There is suffering that asks for your witness. There is beauty in the broken that will never reveal itself to someone who's too busy avoiding the dark. We look away because it hurts, but sometimes the hurt is the invitation. The ache is the way in. You cannot change what you refuse to see. You cannot free yourself from cycles you pretend don't exist. There are patterns inherited from silence. There are addictions born from denial. There are entire lifetimes spent numb because no one had the courage to stop looking away. But when you do, when you finally say, I will face this, something sacred begins to shift. It won't be instant, it won't be clean, but it will be true. You'll begin to see the outlines of what has always been waiting for you. Your voice, your vision, your power. Not the version you've performed, but the one you buried beneath fear. And once you see her, once you see you, you won't want to look away again. You begin to realize that the darkness was never empty. It held the parts of you too tender to be exposed before now. It held your uncried tears, your unspoken truths, your unanswered questions. It was never meant to consume you. It was meant to reveal you. You are not weak for feeling. You are not broken for grieving. You are not lost for questioning. You are human. And being fully human means showing up to every part of your story, not just the chapters that are easy to read. Looking away might feel safer, but safety is not the same as healing. Avoidance is not the same as peace. There is a version of you that lives on the other side of truth, the you that breathes deeply, that speaks without shame, that walks into rooms without needing to shrink, that loves without fear, that trusts herself enough to stand in any storm. You owe it to her, the woman you are becoming, to stop turning your head, to stop numbing the ache, to stop settling for half light when you were born to shine fully. Face it, whatever it is, the past, the truth, the grief, the fear. Face it with trembling hands and an open heart, because what you find in the looking will not destroy you, it will free you. So if you are weary, be not ashamed. If you are lonely, be not afraid. If you are broken, remember, gold only melts to be reshaped. You were never meant to fit in because you were born to stand alone long enough to light the way. Chosen one, your loneliness is the echo of your power calling you home. Your brokenness is the birthplace of beauty the world has not yet seen. Walk on. The world will follow the footprints you leave behind.